Hey, we're live. We'll see if anybody shows up. How you guys doing? Cheers. I hope everybody is well. And we're going to try some new stuff today once I see if people get online. So first thing I want to do is I want to do a sound check. Ruby. Do you hear me? Do you hear me? Can you hear me? I only have a few people online. So yeah. Cheers. Hope everybody's well. Will anybody show up? Yeah, it's Sunday afternoon, so I think a lot of people are going to be doing the Easter stuff. Anyhow, that's pretty much it. So we'll see if anybody actually comes online. Is anybody going to come online? Very quiet today. All right. Hey, how are you, good guy? Hope everything is well. Yeah. So can anybody hear me? Hello. Type 1 for red pandas. Thanks. Very good. Let me know if you can hear me in the comments, please. Hey, Philip, Vegas Phil, how are you doing? Hope everything is well. So I want to try an experiment today. I want to see if I can pipe in a, Twitter, well, you can see my Twitter here, my Twitter feed. So, I'm going to cover a quick few topics, and then I'm going to try my little experiment. Yeah, so thanks for joining the stream. Appreciate it. It's been a little while. I'm getting through my okay, long-term loud and clear. Good. Okay, so sound is good. I got that happening. How's that look? All right, so welcome to the stream, everybody. My name is Steph, and today, well, we're going to cover a couple of things. So if you look on the, I guess you can see my little Twitter feed here. So I was going to cover a couple of tweets that I made. We'll have some discussions. If you have any questions about anything we discuss in today's stream, just let me know. And then I want to try and combine a, what do you call it, Twitter Spaces at the same time. See if the audio comes through as we're doing our thing here. So first of all, if you see this comment here, the AI world is here. Time for all professionals to embrace and integrate AI into their daily workflows. AI will transform many jobs in good ways. So I have been looking at AI, not just ChatGPT. I have been looking at other options as well, and I think it's something to get into. So as developers, you got to embrace the AI revolution. It's not going to replace developers. It's just a power tool. As I discussed in other videos, AI will just allow you to speed up the whole process of development. Now, people who are doom and gloomers about AI, they're probably not real coders. News alert, a lot of the YouTube professional coders, I don't think they've actually done much coding in the real world. One telltale sign is when they tell you that ChatGPT is the end of development. They don't understand development. Any experienced developer knows that writing the code, it's just a part of the process of development. It's not like the main part by any means. So I wouldn't be too concerned about that. So that's the first thing. We'll go down to tweets here. So another thing or myth, if you will, that's going around the interwebs is they say, I'll read the post here. The Twitter tweet here. Some young nerdlings are spreading the idea that you should not learn the backend because you will never get a job as a backend developer as a noob. They say this because no company would trust a noob with backend code. So number 2 here, I say this is simply not true. No employer will trust noobs with critical front or backend code. They will start you off slowly, and as you develop your skill, you will be given more and more tasks. Reality, knowing full stack makes you more employable, not less. So when you're a full stack, when you're learning code, when you're getting into it, I recommend if you're getting into the web space, do the full stack. Because even if you end up specializing as a front-end developer, your full stack knowledge will make you a more valuable front-end developer. If you want to go into freelance, then knowing the full stack is huge. In terms of implementations of e-commerce implementations and so on. So you want to learn both, in my opinion. well, from my experience. So let's get into that. So that's been covered. Final comment here. I'm doing a short truncated one because my voice is not totally strong yet, but next point here, how to cure developer imposter syndrome. So it's out there a lot. I've been teaching people for years in the mentoring group for 2.5 years now. And for many, many years before, I've been mentoring people and training people. And I can tell you, in any given field, the number one thing that prevents people from achieving their goals, whether it be a developer or whatever, it's fear. Imposter syndrome is just an expression of that. So if you don't know what imposter syndrome is, you have people who are starting off as developers, and they get in there, and because they don't know everything, and because they see other people around them are working faster, they feel that they don't deserve that role. Now, let me give you a couple of reasons why you shouldn't feel this way. And so number one, how do you get, well, excuse me, let me back up. Let me give you a few tips and tricks to how to get away from that. So number one, build and finish real projects. Nothing builds confidence like actually doing something real in the real world. So you want to build confidence. You want to get in there and do little projects, even if it's a small website, install somebody's WordPress, configure their Shopify, update their e-commerce site. When you complete real projects, I can't tell you how much of a difference it makes in terms of your confidence. That's the number one thing to do. Just plow through, build real things, and your imposter syndrome will shrink with every completed project, because you'll see, hey, look, I'm able to actually complete the job. Number two, remind yourself that no developer, alive or dead, knows more than 1% of what is out there. This is very true. There's so much out there in development, and everybody's a specialist. Everybody's got to specialize, broadly speaking. And you're going to find no one who knows everything, even within their context. So let's say you have somebody who's a JavaScript backend developer, Node. They'll know just this much about Node and all the various frameworks that you have for backend JS, this much about what's out there in the NPM, in the packages that are out there. Nobody knows everything. I wrote Java professionally for many years, and I only use maybe 10% of Java, maybe 15%. Yeah. And there's a lot of stuff that I didn't. So besides all the stuff I didn't know, even the stuff I did know, I didn't remember everything. That's why you have integrated development environments. That's why you have Google. Well, today you have ChatGPT. You just look it up. The key to being a great developer, I always say, is mastery of the fundamentals, the concepts. Memorization is not part of the development game. Memorization is not an issue here. All right. Number three, coding is an error-prone process. Remember that. Coding is an error-prone process. Every developer is constantly making tons of mistakes. Some are making small mistakes, some are making big mistakes. Now, that's why we have iOS 14 and Windows 11. That's why there are bug fixes. That's why there are patches. If everything was perfect, if developers were perfect, then we'd have Windows 1 and iOS 1, right? Now, you're adding new features, that's part of it, but a lot of it is, when you're adding new features, because you didn't anticipate features that you might need early on. Again, it's all part of the process. I wouldn't be so concerned. So when you're thinking about, am I going to make mistakes here? Even the best developers in the world, the world-class developers, the Mike Tysons and Muhammad Alis of developers, they don't get things perfect. So don't worry about that. Yeah, I appreciate that. Yeah, if you don't mind liking and sharing this video, it'd be cool. Okay, so we're going to get into Q&A, but what I want to do now is I want to see if I can integrate Twitter Spaces in here. We're going to start a new space. And it's going to be live, live with Steph. I've only done this like once or twice, but I want to see if I can integrate. Ask me anything. We'll see what happens. We'll start now. Now we're going to do this experiment together. Thanks for, let's see what happens. All right. So, skip. All right. So I want to see if anybody joins Twitter. We'll find out. And then I want to see if we get him on. What's all that noise? All right. So I'm hearing something from my phone. So I appreciate that. This is fun. And then we're going to, there's a mic here. I want to see if people will come through this phone into our live stream here on YouTube. And nobody's showing up. Very quiet today. So we'll see what happens. Let me turn this phone down. Hold on. All right. All right, there we go. So while we're waiting for that, I did notice feeling more confident when I made my own app from scratch, not a course. Yeah, you got to get out of just doing courses. You know, that's why I don't have 10,000 courses out there, because once you go through my basics, you don't need any more courses. Let me just make this a little bit easier to read here. So there we go. That's good. All right. All right. So, yeah, I guess nobody's getting on my spaces. I guess bad timing. We'll see what happens. Hold on. How you get your Twitter feed on the screen. All right, so we got Lucas Listener in here. Can you hear me, Lucas? Let me know if you can hear me. Give me hands up. I'm doing a live stream now, Lucas, on YouTube at the same time as doing the spaces, because I want to see if I can bring in speakers from spaces into YouTube at the same time. So, I don't know, give me a hands up or something. Okay, so we got some people coming in. Let me know if you guys can hear me on, yeah, let me know on spaces if you guys can hear me or not. Yeah, I don't know how you would do that. Give me a hands up or something. We'll find out in a second. Yeah, so got hooked on your channel from first video I've seen you. Thank you. Hey, cool. Well, thanks for that. Appreciate it. Yeah, so are anybody in the Twitter spaces, can you hear me? I'm not sure if, because I plugged in the microphone or not, if people can hear me. We'll see if they can. Any of the listeners on, okay, Lucas, listener, I guess he's waving. Hey, Lucas, can you ask to join the chat? And so I want to see if your audio is going to come into the live stream here I'm doing. Let me know. Let me know. And let me know if you can hear me as well. Meanwhile, let's go back to YouTube. On YouTube, all right. Which backend technology is most in demand in the job sector? I don't know. I haven't done any. I think it's very regional. It depends on where you happen to live. If there's a concentration in iOS, if there's a concentration in Java, not iOS, and .NET, and Java. It really depends. So we got a question here. Okay, listening and watching. So, okay, hold on a second. Can you hear me? All right. Appreciate your tweet. I guess that's in Twitter. 3 listening to my, can you hear me? Listening and watching. All right, he's listening, so he can hear me. That's what, so we got 4 listening. All right, guys, for those, appreciate the YouTube guys, a little patience. For people joining the Twitter spaces here, I'm now simultaneously broadcasting that to YouTube on a live as well. If anybody on Twitter wants to get in on this conversation, ask me a question. That would be cool, because I want to see if your audio will go into the, there is some mic feedbacks type static anyway you can fix. Okay, hold on a second. Hold on. Oh, let me know. Let me know if on YouTube if there's any audio feedback or not. Let me know about that. I think I fixed it. Okay, what's going on here? Yeah, I'm listening on Spaces. Can you hear me listening on Spaces? Okay, so people are listening on Spaces. Okay, good. Okay. So yeah, anybody in the Spaces, see if you can get on, and I want to see if your audio is going to come through. Yeah. In terms of in terms of YouTube guys, if you tell me if you're still getting clear audio, if there's going to be any feedback or not, let me know. So we have we have a question here. I'm experiencing no feedback. Okay, so it's clear. Good. Okay, good. So somebody asked me on YouTube, for people on Spaces, you always mention diversification when investing. Does this apply for young people who can afford more risk? I'm kind of hesitant to going all in on technology sector index fund. Any advice? Yeah, in terms of investing, the younger you are, the more risk you can put in there. Okay, audio is good. It's now perfect. Okay, fix the audio. Audio sounds good to me. Okay, cool. Thanks, guys, for the feedback. YouTube is good. Yeah, in terms of investing, the younger you are, the more risk you can take. So yeah. So in terms, yeah, when you're young, you just got a dollar cost average because you never know what's going to happen. You can have all these people making predictions about what the market's going to do, but at the end of the day, you don't really know what's going to happen in the market. It's totally unknowable. So your dollar cost average, what does that mean? So every quarter or every month, whatever it is, you put money into the market and you buy an index fund. You can buy different index funds. You can buy the S&P, you can buy the NASDAQ, you can buy Asian index funds, you can buy European. You can spread it out however you like. But generally speaking, again, that's a good point. When you're younger, you can invest more heavily, more aggressively than you would when you're older. There you go. I hope that helps. So what else do we have? Is Node.js to be used in 2023? Of course. Node, all the major full stack and backend technologies are going to be used for many years to come. So I wouldn't be too concerned about that. You got to look at local job market and see what's going on. So I got some more questions here. I'm listening for more replies. All right, here's Dry Oatmeal says, what are your thoughts on cloud computing? I think it's good. I've had good job opportunities in the field. Depends where you live, but I would say so. Moreover, how will ChatGPT affect jobs in that field? I don't think it's going to affect many jobs at all in that field. ChatGPT, you got to think of it as a power tool. So it will just speed up the process. I don't think it will affect any infrastructure jobs like cloud computing and so on. So if anybody wants to get in on a live chat vocally on the Twitter, let me know. I'll put you through. I would like to at least do an experiment with that if you don't mind. See if the audio from the Twitter Spaces will come through on YouTube. So, question on YouTube. How do I feel less deprivation from high IQ colleagues in workspace who might have graduated from Ivy Leagues or the MITs or Harvards when they do the same back-end work which is repetitive in nature? How do I feel less deprivation from high IQ colleagues? I'm not sure what you mean by less deprivation. You mean getting insulted, or just how you feel about the fact that you have these people from these high-end schools competing with you? Let me know. I took a job as a software engineer in language. In language I don't care for. I want to do web design. How long do I need to stick with this job before I move to something I like better? I would say stay there about a year or so and then start looking for other jobs. You don't want to change jobs too quickly, because if you change jobs too quickly, people will, employers will be wondering why you're changing jobs too quickly. So I say about a year. Isn't it better to strat learning from front end and master it and then go to full stack? It's a broad question. It depends. There's specific things you have to learn in the front end, and then I would go back, then I would do the back end. That's how I outline my course. You can watch previous videos where I talk about that. Hey, Steph, is PHP good for enterprise? It can do enterprise. I've done enterprise development with PHP, but it's not widely done. It's like if you want to get into enterprise, we're talking .NET and we're talking Java and maybe a little bit of JavaScript. So it's about the job. But in terms of whether it be PHP, Python, Java, .NET, C#, and others, they're all capable. But you have to also look at the job opportunities in that regard as well. All right, so Twitter Spaces, guys. If you want to, if you don't mind dry oats, or if you don't mind just coming in and just talking, you don't have to ask a question. I just want to see if your audio will pipe through to my YouTube stream. So people just getting in, I'm streaming simultaneously on Twitter Spaces and on YouTube because I want to see if those the streams will come in at the same time. Hi from France, good sir. Hey, how are you? Take care. I've seen all the protests out in France. It's getting a little nutty out there. That's cool. So what else do we have? Another question I got over at YouTube Lab. PHP ecosystems or JavaScript ecosystem? Which is better to land a job full stack remotely? Depends where you're going. It depends where you live. It's all geographical. Do job searches in the areas you want to work. So I got a Twitter Spaces question. So let me just drop down. What are some must-read books on programming and computer science? Look under my streams on YouTube. I always talk about that. I give a couple books. You want to learn refactoring. You want to learn design patterns specifically. Those are subjects anyway. So we got 5 people here listening on Spaces. Anybody on Spaces, if you want to ask a question, get on and raise your hand and I'll invite you to speak. Just so you know, I'm simultaneously streaming on YouTube as an experiment. I want to see if the audio from Spaces will come into YouTube. All right, what else we got here? Considering 90%, there's a question on YouTube. Considering 90% of FE devs are doing React stuff, do you think it's a good strategy to specialize in less popular frameworks like Vue, Astros, Same, and Deno? Again, it's all job specific. Yeah, but that's a good idea though. Zav, it's a good idea to look for niches where you might be able to exploit that. The biggest one out there is the biggest niche is of course WordPress. There's so many WordPress developers out there. Jobs out there that a lot of people don't want to do WordPress. So it's like this giant niche. Okay, I thought we had another question here, but I guess not. All right, so Stefan, thanks. I'm 47 and your videos are an inspiration. Oh, I'm glad I could help. Thanks, appreciate it. What else is there? Is it worth getting a CS degree right now since ChatGPT will soon replace most jobs? ChatGPT will not replace most jobs. No, that's not true. And it's actually starting to create new jobs that had never existed before. It's just going to speed up the process. I'm learning more. I'm leaning more towards database development. My job uses Laravel. How much Laravel do I need to know to build databases that scale well? Yeah, you don't need much Laravel. Just do the basics. You understand how to set up a basic Laravel app, and then and then concentrate on database. Database design and query optimization is a huge part about whether or not the database will scale. Another thing you can look at in terms of scaling databases is look at AWS Solutions and so forth. They have auto-scaling capabilities that are mind-blowing, but you have to design your database so that they align with the way which AWS needs you to build it so that it works. Again, anybody on Spaces, Dana, Drowny, Dryodes, if you mind jumping in just if I, or just as I want to hear the voice. I want to see if audio from Spaces will go into my YouTube. I'd appreciate that. Okay, I'll invite Data. See if she wants to speak. Okay, request. Good. All right, we'll see how this goes. Add as speaker. Drowny, can you hear me, Drowny? Hello. Okay, hold on a second. Let me just raise the volume. Go on. Speak again?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear it. Now, go ahead, say something. I'll see if people in the comments, before you start, Drowny, in the comments on YouTube, let me know if you can hear Drowny speak. Okay, go for it, man.
Testing. Can you guys hear me?
I don't think it's... I got a feeling it's not coming through. We'll find out in a second. Give me a second. Stefan's microphone. Can you hold on? Speak again.
Testing 1 2 3. Can anybody hear me?
All right, cool. Did anybody? It works. All right, so you're able to hear him, Daryl? Okay. Well, see what they say. Do you have any questions, man?
Oh yeah. Just want to say thank you for the video. I've been watching you for 4 or 5 years, so.
Oh, cool.
It's given me a lot of guidance throughout my career. So just want to say that first thing out of the way.
I'm glad I'm able to help, man. Cool. You can hear, but low volume. Oh, I know why. It's coming through. Give me a second. Low volume. Can you speak again? Hold on. Go for it.
Okay. One more. 1 2 3. Testing.
Yeah, I know what it is. I think you were coming through, but through my mic. So it's obviously the audio is not coming from the phone. Yeah, okay, I got that. Okay, so I'm going to have to figure that out. Cool. You have any questions while you're on it?
Yeah, I had one question.
Oh, hold on. Are you there?
Writing all your tests before you write the code, or is test-driven development like writing tests in parallel with the main code?
Okay, could you repeat that again? I lost you. Sorry, go again.
Okay, I had a question about test-driven development, and I was wondering, is test-driven development the process of writing all your tests first before diving into the main code, or is it the process of writing tests in parallel as you're writing the main code? What is your take on test-driven development?
Okay, good question. So, first thing I say is I don't get into unit testing until I have my version 1 out. Okay, and reason I do that is because all the use case model of your app will change drastically. So if you start writing a lot of test code when you're first building your alpha and your beta, you're going to be rewriting tons and tons of code over and over again. Does that make sense? And you're going to have to start rewriting your test all over again. And then once you have some functional app going, then you start dropping in test when you have some solid use cases in place. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that's what I would agree with as well. I think once the app is stable, then we can write tests and iterate on micro features going forward. But if you're just starting an app from scratch, it's really hard to define what tests should be written. And I guess that's maybe when I watched a lot of speakers that praised about test-driven development, but I think they were like not giving me the context of when to use it and when to not use it. It was really like gospel all over. But I think what you explained makes a lot of sense.
Cool. Yeah, I just learned this from hard experience, So, it's, I had developed apps, and then I was, test-driven development started becoming super popular. I started writing tons of tests, and then I was like, the app, we had to change basic functionality in the app, because we didn't really understand what the app had to do ultimately initially. So then he had to rewrite all these bloody tests,
Yeah, makes sense.
And the same thing with error trapping, by the way. Java, at one point, we got really crazy with error trapping and all kinds of minutia. And then you found like your error trapping code was far greater than the actual methods you were writing,
Oh yeah. Can I ask what is error trapping? Is that just error logic?
Yeah, well, it's like, it's, I'll put it in basic terms. You got like in Java and JavaScript world and the C#, you got like the try catch, and so you're just catching errors.
Oh yeah, I know that. Yeah.
So and you can get, so the two mistakes people make with error trapping is that they either go too generalized. They just trap generic errors which have no use, in debugging, and maintenance of an app, or they go too fine grained. So you have to find this kind of balance between what kind of errors you want, or you want to trap or not.
Yeah, I think that's something I'm experiencing with one of my current projects. Is that when I first start off with the projects, I don't know what kind of errors I'm going to encounter until I dive deep into the features. But once those errors become more clear, then there can be some room to make some more meaningful error messages if the requirements needs it. Otherwise, I think it makes sense to not assume too much on what errors are going to be happening in the future until you actually dive into the app and start testing the errors yourself.
Yeah, exactly. So it's any type of app development is iterative. You have to try it, and you build your app out, and then when you start really understanding how the app should work, then you start putting in more precise error trapping. You start putting in your unit tests and so on.
Got it.
Yeah. Very good question, by the way. And thanks for working with me on this experimentation. There's a few bugs we're going to have to work out in terms of the audio here.
Yeah, no problem.
Cool, man. Cool. I guess other questions. Okay. Good. All right, guys. How we doing? So let me go. I'm going back to YouTube here. Sound like that. Can you guide me? I'm just reading off some comments here. Is it worth getting to Web3 in terms of money and future? Again, it's all job driven. Look at see what's out there. See what opportunities are. I haven't looked at all job opportunities out there. You can't hurt by learning anything, because if you learn, let's say you learn Web3 and you don't end up implementing too much of it, that knowledge and experience will still help you in other areas if you drop back to the Web 2. What crypto and cybersecurity? I think crypto is highly niche, so I wouldn't be betting the farm on crypto. But cybersecurity, again, I'm not a cybersecurity expert. I prefer building things than maintaining things. Before I would jump into crypto, before I would jump into crypto or cybersecurity, personally, I would be jumping into the AI. Not necessarily building AI, but how you can leverage AI in different business processes and your coding as well. Google can hire a full stack developer. I guess, of course they would. I've been into WordPress development since 2020, and I know for a fact, Stefan, that my lack of confidence stems from building real-life projects. The market does reward confidence, in my opinion. So what's he saying? I know for a fact, Stefan, that my lack of confidence stems from building real-life projects. I'm not sure what you mean by that. You're saying by building projects, you become less confident? Yeah, please understand. Let me know what you mean by that. Test-driven Test-driven development, TDD, is important, but showing value to users and the business is far more important when you get by shipping your version 1 sooner than later. Yeah, so Brian's making a very good point there. You may get into test-driven development has its use, of course, but if it gets in the way of you being able to deliver your first version of your app, people are not going to be too happy about that. That's another factor as well. Speed of development. The problem with writing all these tests is that it's going to it's going to take up a lot of time, you know. So yeah, any other questions, Drowny?
Yeah, not really a question, but I've been just looking at some of Microsoft's demos on GitHub Copilot X, and they were claiming that it can speed up the writing of unit tests. I'm not sure what to think of it personally. I still feel like the developer has to read the tests anyways and not just blindly rely on Copilot to write the tests for you. But I do think it's a very interesting tool that Microsoft is building to integrate ChatGPT with Copilot to write these unit tests to speed up development work. But I don't know. What do you think? Have you seen any of the Copilot videos?
I actually looked at Copilot in the past. I haven't seen what Copilot is doing now that they've integrated ChatGPT into it. So I'm sure it has its use, but that doesn't change the basic principle, you know? The basic principle is still the same where, yeah, I wouldn't be getting into writing a test until after you have your version 1 going and you know what the use case is. But that is cool. That's interesting, something to look into. Again, as a broad statement, I suggest everybody look into AI development, AI tools. It's just going to speed up the process and give you an advantage in the marketplace. That's for sure. How are we doing? All right. I appreciate that. Thanks, Brian. Can I combine? I'm reading comments here on YouTube. Can I combine my interest in development and design and enjoy both? Yeah, for sure. That's where the web stack comes in. You could be full stack developer, develop some cool UIs, and the web gives you the ultimate flexibility. Whereas if you're developing UIs in iOS or Android, you're confined to a certain extent by their UI kits, if you will. Still fun, but yeah, for sure, you can combine the two. Sonu Shetty says, competitive programmers did better work even when a lot of what they learned in DS Algo was available as frameworks. A feeling of being better than others made them perform better. Yeah, it's all psychological perceptions on your part, man. Just go in there, start writing code. Don't worry, you'll get better and better with every iteration, you know? So, yeah, don't worry about that. Okay, I am currently telecommunications engineer for 8 years. Which language is better to learn and work remote freelance without losing current job salary? Currently learning Python, data science. Well, if you want to do remote jobs and freelance, it's not about data science, it's about the web stack. So you're looking at HTML5, CSS3, JavaScript. And if you're doing freelance work, it's PHP, man. PHP and database work. That's the key for freelance. I am a PHP developer, 4 years experience, but I want to change the language to Java. What should I focus on during the shift? Should I apply for junior or mid positions? Well, first learn Java, start building up your Java chops, and then start looking around job opportunities and see what they're looking at. If you're doing Java, you're either going to be doing Android development, but probably a lot of Java web, which means you're probably going to have to get into Spring. This is heavy duty work in terms. Java is good, but it's a very verbose language. That means there's a lot of code to write. And when you work on Java projects, you're going to be working, as you said, in the enterprise. So you're looking at big companies, and you're looking at HR departments, and all that implies. So understand that's what you're getting into for the most part with Java. What field do you recommend for someone learning to code and want to work remotely freelance? Is it web dev or app dev? Thanks in advance. What field do you recommend for someone learning to code and want to work remotely freelance? Again, it's web dev. For remote work, is web dev. Now, I'm not saying you can't get remote work as an iOS or native app developer, but generally speaking, remote work, freelance work, you're definitely looking at web dev is the bigger opportunity. Yeah, so for you guys on the Twitter Spaces, thanks for joining in. I'm actually doing a simultaneous stream on YouTube now to see if I can get this good. Now I'm having trouble getting the audio from you guys over to YouTube, but what are you gonna do? First time. Appreciate you tolerating my testing this stuff out. So next question on YouTube. Hi, Steph. What kinds of meats would you recommend for a carnivore diet? Thanks. So carnivore diet is basically a meat-only diet. Now there's some variations to that. I've experimented with that. I find I feel better. So what you want to eat is fatty meat. The more fat, the better. I know it goes against the thinking, but do some research. Fatty red meats, lamb, beef, it fills you up. It satiates you. I have one steak and I don't need to eat the rest of the day. I've lost a lot of weight, a lot of body fat by eating fatty meats. For health. Like think about, I'm going to go on a little bit of a tangent for about 30 seconds here. Now, since we're talking about carnivore diet, roughly 80% of illnesses, I think it is, are metabolic in nature, meaning it's from bad diet. Heart disease, diabetes, cancers, arthritis, now they know dementia is all related to being overweight and eating processed foods, processed carbs. So, for me, I've brought my weight down from my peak about 60 pounds, and I'm back to my high school weight. And it's just from cutting out the bad food. You got to wean yourself off because you're probably physiologically and psychologically addicted to this food, comfort food, the breads and popcorn and chips and sugar and ice cream. And it all tastes good, but it's like a mild poison for your body. So if I advise people, if your body weight is, if your body fat percentages as a man is over 20%, you got to get that below 20%. And I think a woman's like 22%. And what happens, you're going to have a lot more energy, a lot more clarity of thought. You have your chances of getting all these serious illnesses are going to diminish like crazy. And you'll be in much better health. You'll be a better developer. You'll be much more productive. That's my advice to you. If any of you in the Twitter Spaces, by the way, I'm doing a simultaneous stream on Twitter and YouTube. Any of you in the Twitter Spaces have a question, let me know. You can ask it in a comment. I'll check the comment, a tweet. Or you can ask to go live, and I'll let you in as a speaker. What's the next one? So Daryl says, I got into ChatGPT earlier during your talk on imposter. Oh, you got into my chat on imposter syndrome. What does it take? What does it take mindset-wise to make more salary rise? You just got to become better and better, more productive. At the end of the day, as developer, you are a service provider. You're providing a service like a dentist provides a service, like a lawyer provides a service. Developers are providing service, and that means being a good communicator, getting things done on time, completing projects, making people's lives around you, whether it be coworkers, your boss, or your clients, making their lives easier. You do all that, you'll be in high demand. And that means your salary will go up. Should beginner learn AI tools need a STEF course? Yeah, well, you should learn the basics in any field, and then you should look at how AI can automate that. I gave an example, watch my videos on ChatGPT, where I show how I use ChatGPT to write out code and so forth, but I had to ask the right questions. So if you don't have a base of knowledge, you're not going to be able to use it effectively. And it does make mistakes. So learn your fundamentals, then jump into AI. You can also use ChatGPT to help learn. It can help speed up the process of learning with ChatGPT and other AI tools. So definitely, yeah. Steph is using AI Steph is using AI to filter comments. Face blue smiling. Okay. The food shadow. Yo, Omar, how are ya? How are we doing? Okay, 45 minutes. The organism needs fat in order to absorb nutrients from meat. If you eat just no fat meat, you starve. Yeah, you need fat. That's a good point. So this is made in Rosita some time ago. So this guy talks about that. I forget where, but I think back in the day, people would starve to death eating rabbit because there was not enough fat on the rabbit. So fat is what you want to eat. Trust me. I don't know what your situation is. Check with your doctor. I have to say this for liability purposes. If you cut out carbs and sugary foods and you eat fatty meats and underlying fatty meats, you're going to start feeling really good. You'll be surprised. Is there any online interactive course you recommend for someone wanting to learn backend? And do you think a 45-year-old female would have a shot in the field? Yeah, for sure. It also depends what your background is. If you are coming at this with, I don't know, if you're a bookkeeper or an accountant, then you might be able to blend those two skill sets. I talk about that. In the tech space, generally speaking, depending where you live, they're always looking for women to get on it. They want to sort of diversify their development base, if you will. So there's an opportunity for you there. Another thing is interactive. Yeah, well, I'm biased. I have my own interactive platform, and I teach the basics of full stack, which was a good place to start. Once you've done my interactive training, see the link below, whether it be my mentoring program or my self-learn system, then you'll be able to learn anything you want. You won't need any more courses from me or anybody else. You just go to YouTube or something, because you'll have that base of knowledge. I recently started a job after being self-employed. It reminded me how much I hate being employed. I'm a beginner web dev on the side. What should I do? All right, so self-employed. So, well, go back to being self-employed. That's what you should do. I've been there. Last time I had a job working for somebody, I was 19 years old. I was a bouncer in a nightclub. And then I started my first business, which was not tech related. So I understand that. And I remember, what was it? It was like 1996. I sold my first business, 96, 97. Then a very important company, a tech company in Montreal at the time, there was some opening, and they wanted at the time, the job was called webmaster, basically a senior web developer. And they wanted one, and somebody was saying, you should go for the job. I said, I don't want to work for somebody. So I went in to interview at this very important company at the time. And they took me to all the department heads. Department head number 1, it sat for 10, 15 minutes, talked to him. Then department head number 2, number 3. And I already got, in that first day of interviewing, I started getting an inkling of the culture there. And I'm not saying all companies are like that, but I could see the infighting and the corporate lifestyle. That was not something didn't align with me. And I think in the third department head, about 10 minutes into it, I got up. I had enough. I said, okay, I got to go. And the guy's like, you got to go. I said, yeah, I think I've had enough of this. And I just left. And that was my last attempt, if you will, of looking to work for somebody. Now, that's me. I know some people, most people I know, who went into corporate development jobs or other types of corporate jobs. They've done well. They're fine. They've done well. They saved and invested, and they're able to navigate the corporate hierarchies and the social dynamics of the corporation, and they've done very well. And several of them are now retired and quite well off. So it's a personal choice whether you want to work in a corporate environment or you want to work in a startup or you want to be self-employed, or you want to start your own startup. The choice between each of these things is largely personal, depending on your personality type. It's like sports. Some people like combat sports. Some people rather play tennis. You know, they each have their pros and cons. It depends on your personality type, you know? So, yeah, so for this guy who said he was self-employed, then he hates working for people, then that's your personality. So start setting up your career so you can be self-employed. I've talked about that. And the easiest way to get into a self-employed lifestyle, if you will, is to do freelance, start freelancing. And then later on, you may stick with freelance and optimize those workflows and start making lots of money. Or you may decide you want to start a business, or you may want to start a startup. They're all valid. They're all valid choices. It really depends on your personality. I appreciate that. Thank you. I was just reading comment for people on Twitter. I was just reading a comment here. I'll just read it. Mohammed says, lots of wisdom drops from Canada. Jordan Peterson in psychology and Stefan Mischek in programming. Drew says, I want to be good in JS, React, Node, etc. It looks like I can get PHP jobs easier, though. Is my concern that using PHP for a job will to cripple me in the languages I prefer unfounded? It is unfounded, Drew, because what you'll find is that if you learn the PHP equivalent of React and Node, or there's no PHP equivalent to React, but if you learn the PHP React equivalent to Node, for you to migrate or to jump into the JS, React, Node world will be trivial. The languages are just the tools. So whether you use a hammer, JS hammer, or you use a PHP hammer, they're very similar. So yeah, if you have jobs, the key in getting into development is getting that first job. You want to get that first job. And then from there, you can pivot into whatever specialization you want to get into, whether it be PHP in Laravel, or you want to go JS and Node, or whether you want to go Python and Django. It's all good. You can't really choose a bad language. You can't really choose a bad language. Except for Ruby, of course. That's the exception. That's a joke, by the way. Next question. Also, animal fat is where you get cholesterol, which is used for testosterone production. Oh, there you go. So this Zaf Keel knows his nutrition. How to negotiate a salary. Oof, that's a whole subject. The key is, in terms of negotiating salary, the key is to be valuable. To be valuable, be helpful, be indispensable. And also to have savings on the side, at least a year of savings, 6 months to a year, so you don't need the job. Here's the number one rule of negotiation. I learned from one of my mentors. My mentor, I used to call him 50 million chickens, because he used to run a $50 million chicken company. Anyway, he told me long time ago, he said, you go into any negotiation with the psychology that you're willing to walk away, that you don't want to be desperate for the deal, whether it be a job or a contract. You got to go in there psychologically prepared to just leave the table and say, I'm out of here. I'm not willing to sacrifice. So how do you get in? How do you set yourself up in that mindset? So you're willing to leave the table, the negotiation table. Number one, you have to be in a position that you don't need the deal. So what that means you have to have a good 6 months to a year worth of cash on hand, so you don't need the job. Number two, you have to become extremely valuable by building things, improving your skill sets, so that you're more valuable. So those are two things. That's how you negotiate. You go in there strong, as I just said. So the best way to negotiate your salary is to be in a strong position from the beginning. So it's like they say with fighting. I used to box. You win the fight in the gym, not in the ring. Meaning the training you do to prepare yourself for the fight is going to be the deciding factor whether or not you win the fight. for the most part. Same thing with negotiation. You gotta go in there strong. In terms of diets, the best diet is local diet. Feed berries to Eskimos and they will die. Yeah, there's some truth to that, you know. Like if you look at the literature, when they first came across Eskimos who basically just eat blubber, they had no cancer, no heart disease, none of these illnesses that are common now. But it's not just Eskimos; it's all kinds of people. 200 years ago, these illnesses did not exist because they basically didn't eat processed foods, and they also fasted. Why no SQL course on Studioweb? 3NF is a pain in the rear end. I do have a basic SQL course on PHP and SQL, just a basic CRUD. And then once you got CRUD under your belt, you're pretty good to go from there in terms of learning on other platforms, more YouTube. Mohammed Baki says, can freelancing outperform having a job in the high end of the paycheck spectrum? It can if you have good sales skills and good ability to create good workflows. The key to becoming extremely profitable in freelance is, number one, good sales skills. And number two is being very efficient with your time. And whereas if you work for a large organization, you can hide within the context of the organization, meaning you don't have to become super efficient with your time. And some people do that. That's why everything takes so slow in big companies, because of that inefficiency. F says, by working at web dev every day, how long does it take to earn enough freelancing to quit a job? Earn enough freelancing. I'm not sure what you mean by that. Earn enough freelancing. I'm not sure what you mean by it. Is it possible to become an expert programmer without drinking coffee? Very difficult. Although I'm not drinking coffee, I'm off coffee now. I've had one coffee in the last month. This is tea. So, how are we doing for time? All right, guys. So we're gonna. Any last minute questions? Now is your chance, because we're coming on around about an hour on this. Whether it be on Twitter. Oh, Babs requested. Hold on, Babs. I'll try to get you in here. I'll add you as a speaker. All right, go for it, Babs. Yep.
There it goes.
Good. Babs. Babs, are you there? Maybe she doesn't want to speak. All right.
I think she's maybe adjusting her mic.
Okay.
I heard her for a bit, but...
All right. We're just waiting to see if Babs will get on the call here. All right. I'll answer a couple more questions on YouTube while we're waiting. What is generally expected file-wise on delivery for a freelance client? Well, that's a broad question. Depends on the freelance work. Basically, you got to deliver a completed project, something that works. Will there ever be a complete mobile app developer on Studioweb? No. Because once you've done my complete web dev course, you don't need me or any other course. You can just go do some YouTube videos and stuff, and you'll be able to become a mobile app developer. The key is understanding the basics. Once you understand the basics of coding and development, you can pivot to any specialization with not too much difficulty. Babs, can you speak? Do you want to speak? All right. I take that as a no. How are we doing here? All right, last question. Thank you for everything, Uncle Steph. I am recovering former attorney who's learning to code from your course. It's awesome. Oh, cool, man. I appreciate that. Thanks, Dave. I'm glad the course is useful for you. Did you say one coffee in a month? Yes, only one coffee in a month. Because it gives me, if I drink too much coffee, I start getting gastric reflux, unfortunately for me. Steph, do you have any encouraging words for beginners? Yeah. I came into development as a, not from a technical point of view. I was a graphic designer, in fact. I have a graphic design business background. And so I decided to learn to code. One of the reasons I decided to learn to code, it's kind of my martial art ethos. It stems from my martial art ethic, for lack of better terms. I started to learn to code because I knew that my analytical mind needed some refinement. So I said learning to analyze systems and break them down, which is basically coding, that it would help me balance my mind a little bit. And so it was difficult for me to learn how to code, how to be a developer, because I was more of an artistic type, big idea type guy, but I was able to, obviously. And so just keep a little bit every day. Frequency of exposure is more important than how much time ultimately you put into it. And eventually it clicks. It's going to be, it won't be understandable for a lot of people initially, but over time, things just clarify. And as your brain makes the new neural connections, then all of a sudden things that you didn't understand will become very clear all of a sudden. It's like, it's weird. You just wake up one day, it's like, oh, now I understand what a function is. Now I understand arrays. Now I understand recursion, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So just keep working on it a little bit every day. It's worth it. Remember, it's like working out. It's like training. You got to give yourself time, take breaks, be consistent, and you'll start building up that mental muscle, if you will. Should I do social media marketing as a freelancer in the making? Social media marketing is a way to get into it. I think if you did web development, front end, back end, and then you did a little bit of social media marketing to help companies get their sites online, get their presence online, it'll be good. It'll be good. All right, guys. Thanks for joining the stream. My voice is getting weak, and it was a lot of fun. I appreciate everybody on Twitter Spaces as well, helping me out, drowning.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, it was cool. I'm going to try to come up with a better way to integrate these lives, or may have to do them separately. We'll see. All right, dudes. We'll see you soon.
All right, have a great Sunday.
You too, guys. So that's done there. And all right, guys, thanks for joining the stream on YouTube. I hope it was good. Now that my energy is coming back, I plan to do a lot more lives, and I'm going to be doing my I'm going to be doing my series Coder in a Car again. If people know, I used to do a lot of videos from my car, travel around and stuff. So I'm going to be doing a lot more of those because I got a new vehicle, and I bought actually a car specifically. Part of the reason I bought it is because it's going to be good for live streaming, believe it or not. So that's coming out soon too. So that's going to be a lot of fun. So if you have any questions after the stream is over, you can post them below this video. And you can also join the Discord. I have a Discord channel. Link is below. And that's it, man. I'll leave you with my ASMR boat. We'll talk soon. Cheers. Ciao.